We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Another school shooting, a budget showdown, economic turmoil, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. 2 students and 2 teachers were killed, and at least 9 people were hospitalized with injuries in a shooting yesterday at Appalachia High School in Winder, Georgia, a rural area about an hour outside of Atlanta. Authorities said a suspect was taken into custody and later revealed it was a 14-year-old student who will be charged with murder as an adult. Republican Senate candidates are gaining on their Democratic counterparts in a new polling of competitive races, closing the support gaps in top contests that will decide which party holds control of the Senate and by how large a majority. Dave McCormick, the Republican candidate for Senate in Pennsylvania, tied longtime Senator Bob Casey Jr. in top battleground state Pennsylvania, according to a new CNN poll conducted by SSRS. Casey's advantages of being an incumbent and having a well-known family with deep roots in Pennsylvania showed signs of faltering against McCormick's campaign in the survey, with the two neck and neck at 46% each. House Speaker Mike Johnson unveiled a plan to avoid a partial government shutdown at the end of this month during a lawmaker-only phone call Wednesday morning. Johnson is aiming to hold a vote on the measure as soon as possible, likely next week, 2 sources familiar with the call said. House GOP leaders hope to link a short-term extension of this fiscal year's federal funding levels, known as a continuing resolution, to a Republican-backed bill known as the Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility Act, also called SAVE. That measure would require proof of citizenship in the voter registration process in a bid to crack down on GOP concerns about non-citizens participating in U.S. elections. The bill would punt the federal funding fight to March, when a new administration and a new congressional term will dictate how the next showdown will play out. Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris is planning to propose a less drastic increase in the top capital gains tax rate, breaking with a plan President Biden outlined in his budget blueprint earlier this year, according to people familiar with the matter. Harris's advisors have been discussing the move behind the scenes in recent days, according to sources. The vice president spoke Wednesday afternoon in New Hampshire about promoting small businesses and mentioned the capital gains proposal in those remarks. The top rate under discussion is 28%, but could change. Biden wanted a near doubling of the all-in top capital gains rate to reach 44.6%. The same 39.6% top rate he wants for ordinary income, plus a 5% investment income tax. It wasn't immediately known whether Harris's 28% would include that additional levy. A Harris campaign spokesman declined to comment. Job openings slumped to their lowest level in 3.5 years in July, the Labor Department reported on Wednesday, in another sign of slack in the labor market. The department's closely watched job openings and labor turnover survey showed that available positions fell to 7.67 million on the month, off 237,000 from June's downwardly revised number and the lowest level since January 2021. Economists surveyed by Dow Jones had been looking for 8.1 million. With the decline, it brought the ratio of job openings per available worker down to less than 1.1, about half where it was from its peak of more than 2 to 1 in early 2022. The U.S. trade deficit widened to a 2-year high in July, fueled by a surge of imports in goods and partly reflecting stepped-up efforts by companies to ensure adequate supply ahead of a potential dock workers' strike. The goods and services trade gap grew 7.9% from the prior month to $78.8 billion, Commerce Department data showed on Wednesday. The figure was in line with the median estimate in a Bloomberg survey of economists. The value of goods and services imports increased 2.1% to the highest level since March 2022. Exports rose 0.5%. The figures aren't adjusted for inflation. Volvo has modified its plan to transition into a 100% electric car company by 2030 over concerns about tariffs, the withdrawal of government incentives, and a lack of sufficient vehicle charging infrastructure. In a statement, the Chinese-controlled Swedish car manufacturer said it had decided to cut back on an ambition it set out in 2021 to transition to only manufacturing electric vehicles by the end of this decade. Volvo in 2021 outlined a plan to transition to a fully electric car manufacturer by 2030 with a view to phasing out production of all cars with internal combustion engines, including hybrids. The Biden administration is reportedly preparing to block Japan's Nippon Steel from purchasing U.S. steel, citing national security concerns. The administration did not express exactly what those national security concerns are, but it's a move backed by both Trump and Harris and a popular policy in Pennsylvania, home to U.S. Steel and the most important battleground state in the election. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.